This evening, public servants will have to await word on that promised pay increase from the Apanu AFC administration. Government is considering the rebranding of Gaisuco. The Guyana Police Force holds an official ceremony in light of the addition of 15 vehicles to their fleet. The premature baby of the 17-year-old mother who was reportedly impregnated by her father has died. In the region, in Trinidad, socially displaced persons are refusing rehabilitation services. And internationally, EgyptAir Flight 804 from Paris to Cairo disappeared from radar Thursday morning.
From Safetv headquarters in South Rival Gardens, this is Safetv Headline News with George Gonzalez.
Headline News is now being streamed live on our YouTube channel. Join us. The public servants will have to await word on that promised pay increase from the Apanu AFC administration. Minister Harmon says the government, after reviewing the COI, still has to follow an established process. Kingsley Bryan provides the details in this report.
Even before assuming office, the administration on its campaign trail was touting a pay hike for public servants. After winning the general and regional elections in 2015, public servants expected to see that promise come into fruition. But this has not been the case, since the government of the day was awaiting the findings of the Commission of Inquiry. The report is out, and Minister Harmon explains it will provide guidance as to these increases.
It would in fact give a framework within which salaries should be negotiated. I don't think the report actually says that this is what you must do because, of course, you know, those are issues that have to do with collective bargaining and the rights of the union and the government to negotiate.
This is given the fact that a country's laws actually stipulate a process whereby determinations of public servants' wages and salaries follow interactions with the representing unions. Minister Harmon explains that the administration will allow this process to take its course.
It will set a framework, but of course that's just a framework because ultimately the decision as to salaries increases and so on will have to be dealt with by virtue of a collective bargain agreement between the government and the unions that are involved.
This is welcome news, since for years that collective bargaining process was generally ignored. Speaking with Headline News by way of phone, past president of the GTUC, Mr. Norris Witter, said the move is welcomed if that is what actually obtains.
I think this statement in itself is a commendable one. More so given the fact that last year, salary determination was decided by the very manner that the previous PUP administration adopted, which was wage salary imposition, right?
Yes.
So that statement obviously must be a welcome one.
For years, public servants working under the previous regime were made subject to inadequate representation by their unions. This is due, in part, to the standoffish attitude of the previous administration to properly engage the unions on poignant issues, George.
Thank you, Kingsley. Government is reconsidering the rebranding of the Guyana Sugar Corporation, according to Minister of Agriculture, Noel Holder. Andrew Weeks reports that the Wales Sugar Estate and the Demerara sugar industry will be used as the first examples of the rebranding process.
The billion-dollar burden that is taking a huge chunk of taxpayers' dollars, Gaisuco, has continued to lose preferential prices on the international market. As a result, the onus has rested on decision makers to devise a plan to turn things around. The government seems to have an idea. Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder recently informed Gina that the sugar industry will be rebranded.
We see it as an opportunity to convert the estate, that is the Wales estate, into a model for other areas within the sugar industry diversification. We can see the factory building used to house a dairy plant, to house a juice production plant. We can see the land being used for dairy production.
As for the West Demerara estate and its proposed closure, Minister Holder said,
This factory, which is the oldest in the country and very relatively inefficient, will be converted to other uses. So it hasn't been a closure of Wales Estate. It has been a closure at the end of this year. Wales factory is working right now. At the end of this year, the factory will be closed and the cultivations will be joined with IFLOP for maximum production.
According to Minister Holder, lands from the merging of the both estates will be allotted to private farmers.
We could see the land being used for dairy production, and we can see some land being made available to people in the West Bobbies area, so they could farm and provide milk, provide fruit juices and things of that nature into the system. And we would want to see that replicated on other estates.
George, in spite of the challenges, Gaisuku's management is sparing no effort in carving out creative and innovative pathways to lift the corporation out of its current financial state and is strategizing to retain current skills and competencies into the proposed diversification projects. But the question is, will this new rebranding idea help stabilize the sugar industry in Guyana? The nation is watching and waiting. George, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. The premature baby born to that 17-year-old mother who was reportedly impregnated by her father has died. Rihanna Ahmad will give you an update on the teen's condition in this report.
Doctors at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation were unable to save the 28-week-term baby born to that 17-year-old Myconi East Coast MRI resident earlier in the week. Delivered via cesarean section, the baby died on Wednesday evening. The public relations officer of the country's largest public health institution, Mitzi Campbell, gave Headline News an update on the teen's condition.
She is in a critical condition.
The baby's mother, currently listed as brain dead, remains a patient of the intensive care unit of the hospital. Authorities believe that it is just a matter of time before the young lady's body starts to reject the life support machine. But due to the lack of certain legislation, health officials are prevented from putting the teen out of her misery. Doctors have already engaged family members of the teenager to prepare them for the worst. Reports are that the young lady was born with an ailment in the brain, which increased her chances of having a stroke. The family is saying that this girl had a brain problem before she got pregnant.
Well, I am not disposed to say that. All I know is that she is in a critical state.
Previous reports suggested that the teenager was pregnant with her father's child. And while investigations are continuing to determine whether this is true, Headline News understands that the man has denied all allegations of incest, rape, and/or child molestation. When contacted, officials of the Child Care and Protection Agency declined to comment, saying that investigations are ongoing into the matter from their end as well. George?
Thank you, Rihanna. Coming up on Headline News after the break, Ministry of Natural Resources seeks to fully enforce mining regulations. And is there a refugee crisis heading in Guyana's direction?
I'll say, will you marry me? I swear that I will mean it. I say, will you marry me? Sing it.
Jean-Louis Styles, simply different.
If you're in town and you're looking for a mall with everything under one roof, then you need to go to the Parliament View Vendors Mall. Here is why.
I see money right now. And when people come in and feel the place, I tell them to come back and support us.
You can get your bread, your top of your fruits, your hats, your pants, everything in this one location.
The mall is very comfortable. The working facilities is more comfortable, so people feel more relaxed to come and support us.
Wonderful greens, fresh and nice, fresh caloo, kudu, blondie, fresh and nice. We are right here, Parliament View.
Get the roads to the mountain, everything again. Clean out.
You know where we used to sell before? So them tell people we want in the mall. Come to Parliament View, get juice, milk and a bump from me.
Come and support us.
Go to the Parliament View Mall And support your vendors, support your persons who you bought from.
The new Parliament View Vendors Mall. Everything fresh and clean and in order at one location. Sponsored by the Mayor and City Council of Georgetown.
As we celebrate 50 years of Guyana's independence, let's get together and spend an evening at the grand Best in 50 Retro Show and Dance on Friday, May 27th, 2016 at the Pegasus Poolside. Come and reminisce as you mix with the elegant, matured, and sophisticated while you enjoy the show and party to the best retro sounds. Tickets are $15,000 per couple and $8,000 for single with dinner included. Avoid disappointment and book your tickets and tables now. For bookings and tickets, call 223-6047 or 696-5746. That's 223-6047 or 696-5746. It's the grand 50th Retro Show and Dance, Friday, May 27th from 8 p.m. at the Pegasus Poolside. Dress elegant, come early and stay late.
With a distinctive flavor, Umda Palka ghee is made from 100% pure vegetable oil. This Palka ghee is a delight when preparing sweetmeats and other dishes for healthy cooking with a rich buttery taste and aroma. It is used for religious purposes and is a principal fuel for burning. Umda Palka ghee is light, pure, with a real ghee texture.
It's really hot. What's wrong with your AC?
It's not working.
Well, we wouldn't be able to continue this meeting anymore because this place is extremely hot.
Wait, please don't go.
Here's a company you can call to get your AC fixed. Action Cool.
Honey, what's dinner? I had a hard day.
I'm sorry you had a hard day, but guess what, babes? I didn't cook today because the stove is not working.
Having trouble at home or at the office? Then call the professionals at Action Cool. Our fully trained technical team have the skills and experience in repairs of all air-conditioned units, refrigerators, gas stoves, washing machines, and a whole lot more. For further information, visit us at 86 Hill and Princess Street, Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, or call us on telephone number 225-7867.
The opposition, as the word suggests, opposes the government. This time, opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo says that Guyanese are worse off with the coalition in power. In this Rihanna Ahmad report, you'll hear him talk about drugs and the economy.
Months after the coalition took office, the opposition People's Progressive Party Civic complained that the economy was spiraling downward. As a response, Finance Minister Winston Jordan rebutted that this was only because the country had stopped benefiting from monies coming from the drug trade and other illegal activities, which were halted after May 11 last year.
He lives in this make-believe world that it's only because of drug proceeds that flowing less through the economy. That's why things are now going well in the economy. So why should I do anything about it? Everything else is perfect.
Leader of the opposition, Bharat Jagdeo, in addressing reporters during a press conference yesterday, went on to put this spin on the allegation of gold smuggling in particular.
I thought that since 15,000 ounces of gold were smuggled out under the PPP every week, and that this new government has blocked this now, 15,000 ounces multiplied by 52 weeks would deliver something like 750,000 ounces over that. And so at the price of gold, that's $800 million more in the economy.
For more than an hour, Jagdeo, whose administration has been seen as quite corrupt, went on to charge that Guyanese are worse off under the coalition government when compared to the period of the PPC's rule.
Why this precipitous drop? How can you explain it? And it can only be explained by, as I said before, one reason is that the people do not have confidence in this government.
The former president went on to criticize the government for their seeming inaccuracies and over-exaggeration posited in the 50-point flyer, which was released by the coalition as it celebrated its 1 year in office.
Isn't this a desperate, pathetic attempt of this government to scrape everything they could see under the sun?
Jagdeo accused the Granger-led administration of not having the vision needed to mend the economy. But George, it should be noted that after 23 years, the BBP was booted out of office at a time when many of the country's leading industries were failing.
Thank you, Rihanna. Junior Minister within the Natural Resources Ministry, Simona Brooms, says that the ministry seeks to fully enforce those mining regulations and, in doing so, will strive to establish a level playing field in the mining industry. Kingsley Bryan has the details in this report.
The mining industry has its fair share of problems, and the new administration seeks to return complete order to the sector. This is the word of Junior Minister within the Natural Resources Ministry, Simona Brooms, who assures that there will be enforcement.
We will be implementing the regulations are there, and we have to be guided by that as ministers, as miners, and everybody. So of course there will be some enforcement in terms of regulations. It's not one aim at the big stick behind the miners, but one to really work with them to move to the other level in mining, and so that we can move together.
Minister Broom said the enforcement of those regulations under an AP and UAFC administration will see the creation of a level playing field, which many have been left to think does not exist in the sector.
We are looking to build that platform of transparency, that the regulation does not only goes for the small miner and when the large miners, and that conflict, we're looking to resolve that and have an industry with miners, not medium, small and large, but straight across the board, but go for one, go for all.
In this regard, Minister Broom says the ministry has seen initiatives employed as well as the issues of many small miners being resolved, and this is commendable.
We cannot only listen to the problem but find solutions. Persons whose property was taken away from them, wrongfully taken away, we managed to settle all those issues, because mining is a lot of money and a lot of people have been suffering. We've had some old cases, even matters that we had in the court, that we looked at it and the commission.
Minister Brooms boasted of the ministry resolving the issues of 29 small miners out of the 40 they had interactions with. The ministry also hopes to begin training of the persons working in the sector in various areas to ensure optimum performance. George.
Thank you, Kingsley. Yesterday, the central government donated 15 vehicles to the Guyana Police Force. The gesture was marked by an official presentation ceremony which was held at Tactical Services Unit Square, Eve Leary. Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramjatan handed over the keys to Acting Commissioner David Ramnarine. The vehicles included 1 tow truck, 8 Hilux pickups, and 5 Mark X sedans. This will aid in increasing the police presence throughout the city. Minister Ramjatan said that his ministry is currently negotiating for the purchase of 20 additional vehicles. He noted that as the country prepares for the 50th Independence Day anniversary celebrations, it is necessary for the police to have an adequate number of vehicles. An adequate fleet is necessary for the prevention of crime, especially as we prepare for an increase in visitors to the country. Given the fact that many street attacks involve the use of CG motorcycles, the GPF intends to add more motorcycles to its fleet as well. Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenidge said there is no need for panic as Guyana is monitoring the events in Venezuela as closely as possible. Headline News senior reporter Andrew Weeks has been following these events and filed this report.
Today, Foreign Affairs Minister Carl Greenidge said there have been lots of speculations about refugees from Venezuela crossing over their borders into Guyana. The minister said it was time that he put the facts on the table.
On our side, from what we see and what we know of Venezuela's capabilities, we believe that the movement of, or unusual movements of people, persons across the border, are not likely to be of any magnitude that the Venezuelan authorities can't handle, at least in relation to Guyana's borders. It isn't as though you have massive settlements in the areas close to our borders, and where the Guyanese are is across the other side of the Orinoco.
Minister Greenwich also stated that there was always movement of people on both sides of the border and that there would be peak and dip at times. Minister Greenwich went on to state what the position of Cabinet was on the issue.
The Cabinet, however, and the government, bearing in mind the events that are unfolding, and they've been alerted to these events, isn't of the view that you are going to get a massive flood of people in the immediate and near immediate future.
However, according to Minister Greenwich, as a responsible government, they would get an assessment from men on the ground should it get out of hand.
We are getting an assessment from our own authorities and from those in a position to advise us of what maybe, say in the unlikely event that there is a significant movement, of what support and what equipment requirements may be needed in order to keep this manageable. But I am not wanting to add to any sense of panic, and at this point in time, therefore, I don't see the need for anything other than those measures.
Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro had declared a state of emergency last weekend, hours after U.S. intelligence officials warned that the South American country could be on the brink of disintegration. The country is grappling with soaring inflation, a shrinking economy, chronic food shortages, and frequent power cuts. The latter situation is so bad that public servants have been put on a 2-day week, and the president personally urged women to stop blow-drying their hair in order to save electricity. George, Minister Carl Greenwich stated that it is not just Guyana that should be put on alert, but the entire Caribbean region. He also pointed out that other international agencies like the UN, the OAS, and the Union of South American Nations have all been doing the same thing, watching and waiting. George, back to you.
Thanks, Andrew. As we approach the 50th, more Guyanese are coming from abroad to help those in need in Guyana. Here's more in this report. Top fashion designers from around Guyana will be presenting their styles during an evening of fashion and entertainment at Duke Lodge in Kingston. The program, which takes place this Sunday night, is titled Woven of Love in support of the different abled children. Lloyd Gilliams of LG Souvenirs and his brother, Pearson Gilliams of Baba Pearson's Living Earth Foods, have organized this fashion show in support of a charitable cause. Both men were born and raised in Guyana, but left when they were young adults.
I went across to New York, and that's where I'm at this time.
And I am Pearson Gilliams, his brother, from the same mother like no other, and I'm here in Guyana to celebrate the Jubilee and share some wisdom and knowledge with the people that I've learned from my elders. And I'm into natural living, holistic living, and I'm into organic gardening, growing your own food. And I'm vegan raw, and I'm here to support Port Lloyd in his efforts to bring resources and information to the children of Guyana in terms of technology.
Lloyd Gilliams also expressed why he has a particular desire to help the children with disabilities of Guyana.
And why I take more interest in the disabled, because they need a little more assistance. And that's where my energy directs to right now.
The event is scheduled for this Sunday, May 22nd, 2016, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Showtime is at 6 o'clock. It is being held at Duke's Lodge at 94 Duke Street, Kingston, Georgetown. Still ahead, our regional and international news.
Women's fashion trends change every day. That's why John Lewis Styles makes it their duty to source items directly from the manufacturing brand, offering you more choices and better prices. Women love to look great, whether it's for work or play. From clothing, shoes, accessories, to handbags, watches, fragrances. Let's make you feel like the only girl in the world. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Basketball fans, get ready for the invasion of the mighty DC Jammers of the US of A. Yes, they are coming to challenge the reigning top 4 basketball clubs in Guyana. The Goodwill Tour begins on Saturday, May 21st, when the Jammers battle the Ravens. On Sunday, May 22nd, they take on the Raiders from Linden. The action continues on Tuesday, May 24, when they match up with the Pacesetters. Then come Friday, May 27th, the DC Jammers takes on MVP Stanton Rose and his champion club, the Bounty Colts. All games starts at 18:30 hours at the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. Supporting games will feature Youth Basketball Guyana. Tickets cost $1,000. Children under 12 absolutely free. Chow Power will be in the house with lots of giveaways. Don't you dare miss the excitement. It's a Jubilee celebration. Basketball is back, sponsored by Mackinson.
Cause I owe it to me. Baby, all the men stand against the wall. They're so fine, they're so tall. And I wish they would come home with me. Baby, can you feel it?
Fire, tell them about Victoria, the legends of Victoria, the secrets of Victoria now.
Get your tickets now for A Legend of Victoria Village, written and directed by Ras Leon Saul, National Culture Center, Friday, May 20th to Sunday, May 22nd from 8 p.m. Admission, $1,500 and $1,000. Tickets now at NCC Box Office, sponsored by Banks, DIH.
This place is really hot. What's wrong with your AC?
It's not working.
Well, we wouldn't be able to continue this meeting anymore because this place is extremely hot.
Wait, please don't go.
Here's a company you can call to get your AC fixed. Action Cool.
Honey, what's for dinner? I had a hard day.
I'm sorry you had a hard day, but guess what, babes? I didn't cook today because the stove is not working.
Having trouble at home or at the office? Then call the professionals at Action Cool. Our fully trained technical team have the skills and experience in repairs of all air-conditioned units, refrigerators, gas stoves, washing machines, and a whole lot more. For further information, visit us at 86 Hill and Princess Street, Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, or call us on telephone number 225-7867.
In news from the region now. In Trinidad, socially displaced persons are refusing rehabilitation services that are given to them as they obtain grants from the authorities. C News reports.
In 2014, there were 905 socially displaced persons on the streets and in various centers in TNT. In January 2015, there was a decrease by 366 to 539. And a survey conducted over the last 2 days in Trinidad alone shows there are about 349.
For the Spain and environs, there were 152 males, 5 females. Sawa, 14 males. Tunapuna, 10 males. Arima, 23 males. Marabella, 15 males. Princess Town 2, San Fernando, 61. Sande Grande, Valencia, 11.
She said further attention needs to be placed on rehabilitation. The JSC chairman suggested social workers play a more pivotal role in helping the socially displaced, but Mrs. Bailey Sobers said they are short-staffed in that area.
The unit has had social workers. We do not have the complement of social workers that we need to have. So to be able, again, resources, that presents a challenge. But that has been done and is done for clients by social workers.
According to the Deputy Director of the Interagency Unit of the Ministry, the displaced when brought into their care are assisted in getting birth papers and ID cards, among other things. However, they take it and leave.
What we find is that after we get the ID and the birth certificate, and then they qualify for example, the city smart card, the food card, or whatever grants, they are back out on the streets because then they're happy. They're like, oh, I got a grant. You know, they don't want to stay in the program, become rehabilitated, or get the help from the ministry, because for them, they got what they wanted.
And the police are also faced with challenges.
Between the 29th of October 2015 and the 7th of April 2016, 29 persons would have, street dwellers or homeless persons would have been arrested in San Fernando. And we had issues with the people at St. Anne's refusing to take them because of overcrowding and so on.
DCP Dulalchan went on to explain that 22 of those persons were only warned with no further action. He said the bigger issue is what happens after in order to prevent the homeless from going back onto the streets. Rishi Harinanan, CNews.
And internationally, EgyptAir Flight 804 from Paris to Cairo disappeared from radar Thursday morning over the Mediterranean Sea and crashed, killing all 66 people on board. Here's more from Network Africa News.
An EgyptAir flight carrying 66 passengers and crew from Paris to Cairo went missing on Thursday, disappearing from radar. Aboard the flight were 30 Egyptians, 15 French nationals, 2 Iranian. Families of the passengers rushed to Cairo International Airport shortly after dawn, while the Egyptian and Greek militaries scrambled aircraft and boats to search for the plane. Hours later, French President François Hollande says all information confirms that the plane has indeed crashed. However, both French and Egyptian officials have refused to be drawn on what brought down the plane, with Egypt's Prime Minister saying it is too early to rule out or confirm anything.
We cannot dismiss or confirm anything at the current time. All the search efforts have to be concluded and the committees have to do their work, and then we will be able to say what we are in contact with the Egyptian authorities. The President of the Republic spoke to President Sisi. I myself will meet with counterpart Sameh Shukri in a few moments. We will, of course, get mobilized, and we are available to the Egyptian authorities and ready to send our military means, our planes, our boats to help in the search for the plane.
Nous avions nos bateaux aider à la recherche.
Hours, while his co-pilot has 2002, when a Boeing 737 crashed into a hill while on approach to Tunis Carthage International Airport, killing 14 people.
And that's Safetv 2 headline news for this Thursday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to find Safetv 2 headline news on Facebook and YouTube. You can also tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 for a rebroadcast and Friday evening at 7.